I love this one. You're too old to start acting. Really? And we believe that. Yeah, I know, they tell you not to wear red, so shoot me. But this one's personal for me. So I started on-camera acting at 60 years old. 0 connections, 0 formal training, smack in the middle of COVID, figuring out self-tapes in my spare bedroom. And I heard this constantly from well-meaning people, from strangers on the internet, from that voice in my own head at 2 in the morning. You're too old for this. That ship has sailed. Who starts an acting career at 60? I did, and I'm still here. And last year I wrapped a SAG feature alongside Oscar-winning performers. So am I special? Am I some freak exception? Well, let me show you the actual data. Everyone can name a few late starters. Morgan Freeman broke through at 50. Samuel L. Jackson was 46 when Pulp Fiction came out. Alan Rickman was 42 when he played Hans Gruber. Judi Dench won her first Oscar at 61. But here's what I think is even more interesting than the household names. Katherine Joosten. She was a psychiatric nurse, divorced at 37, didn't start community theater until she was 42, didn't move to Hollywood until she was 56. Got her first paid role, 2 lines on Family Matters, within 5 months. She went on to win 2 Emmy Awards. 2. Starting from scratch in her 40s. Paul Raci, Vietnam veteran, sign language interpreter, spent 40 years doing small parts in black box theater. Got his first Oscar nomination at 72. 72 years old. June Squibb, first Oscar nomination at 84. And right now, at 96, she's having what the industry press is calling the career surge of a lifetime. And Phyllis Smith, she was working as a casting associate for The Office, reading lines during auditions to help the real actors. The producers watched her do it and said, hey, we need to put her on the show. They created the role of Phyllis specifically for her. In her mid-50s, she went on to voice Sadness in Inside and Out. These aren't flukes. These are patterns. People who started late and brought something to the work that younger actors couldn't fake. Now let's talk about why the industry actually needs you. Baby boomers watch roughly 5 hours of TV a day. That's triple what millennials watch, 5 times what Gen Z watches. They spend $10.7 billion a year on movies and streaming. $10.7 billion. That number went up almost $2 billion in a single year. Adults over 50 control $78 trillion in wealth. And yeah, I double-checked that number. Advertisers know this. Streaming platforms know this. Why do you think every other commercial during Jeopardy is a prescription drug or a reverse mortgage? They know who's watching. And they need content that speaks to that audience, which means they need actors who look like that audience. Now here's the gap that nobody tells you about. Only 12% of speaking characters in major films are over 60, but over 30% of the population is over 50. Now that is not a closed door, that is unmet demand. That's a gap waiting to be filled by people who actually look like the audience watching. And this year's Oscars, almost half the acting nominations went to performers over 50. Isabella Rossellini at 72, Demi Moore at 62. That's not a trend. That's the industry catching up to its audience. Now here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. 20 years ago, if you wanted to start acting at 60, here's what that looked like. You'd move to LA or New York and you'd try to find an agent willing to take a chance on an unknown older actor with no credits. You'd wait for the phone to ring and you'd hope. Well, that world really doesn't exist anymore. Today, self-tape auditions are the industry standard. Actors Access, casting networks, Backstage. You can submit yourself for roles from your living room. No agent required, no relocation required. You record as many takes as you need, you submit your best one, and you move on to the next. I built my career on self-submissions. From Springfield, Virginia to Charleston, South Carolina, and Charlestown, West Virginia, none of which are exactly the center of the entertainment universe. I submit to markets across the Southeast, the Central Atlantic, and beyond. I've booked work in multiple states, and I've started with 0 credits and 0 connections. Now, that wasn't possible a generation ago. It's possible now, and it's possible for you. Now, is there ageism in this industry? Yes. Let me be straight about that. But here's the part nobody clarifies. The ageism data mostly measures actors who started young and are being pushed aside as they age. You know, the 30-year-old romantic lead who can't book that same role at 55. Well, that's real and it's unfair, but it's a completely different situation than someone starting at 60. You're not going to be competing against 25-year-olds. You're entering the market for roles that already need someone who looks 60, right? Grandmothers, judges, doctors, bosses, mentors, neighbors. Those roles exist, and they need people who can play them believably. You know who plays a worn-out parent most convincingly? Someone who's actually raised kids. Who plays a grieving spouse more believably? Someone who's actually lost people. Your life is your instrument, and at 50 or 60, that instrument has range that a 25-year-old is still building. So if someone told you it's too late, if you've been telling yourself it's too late, let me ask you something. If a psychiatric nurse won 2 Emmys, a sign language interpreter got an Oscar nomination at 72, a casting assistant became one of the most beloved characters on one of the biggest shows in television history in her 50s, why can't you? I mean, they didn't let their age stop them. They let their age work for them. I started at 60. I figured it out the hard way, and I'm still figuring it out. But I'm working, and the path that got me here is more accessible right now than it's ever been. Your age isn't the problem. Your hesitation is. Hey, you want to go deeper? Well, I wrote more about this at gary-mason.com/blog. The link is in the description. New myths busted every week. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.